Support for this podcast comes from the St. Alphonsus Neuroscience Institute, offering technology to provide treatment for neurological, neurosurgical, and neurointerventional conditions. This includes a dedicated neurotrauma ICU for critical care of the brain or spine and a 24/7 stroke team. More at stalphonsus.org.
Hi, Scandalized listeners. Charlie and Jackie here with a really exciting announcement.
We're coming back to Podfort in 2026. We'll be live at the Boise Contemporary Theater on Friday, March 27th at 3 p.m.
This year, we're going to be digging into some of the juiciest fashion faux pas in American politics. You won't want to miss it.
We'd love to see our amazing listeners, so bring your friends and come talk scandals with us. And best of all, it's free.
That's Friday, March 27th at 3 p.m. from the Boise Contemporary Theater. See you then.
From Boise State Public Radio, this is The Connector, Idaho Daily News. Good morning, I'm Troy Oppie. It is Thursday, March 26th. Here are today's headlines. Idaho's budget writers have approved a series of cash transfers to prop up the state budget that the group's leader earlier this year called a gimmick. More food donation bins appearing at airports in Idaho, and the Trump administration's aggressive anti-immigration policies have affected Treefort. We start this morning with the latest on legislation restricting local government entities from displaying all but about a dozen eligible flags. It has continued to march through the State House. The Senate passed the bill on a near-party line vote this week, with 2 Republicans joining all 6 Senate Democrats in opposition. The bill closes the loophole used by the city of Boise to continue to fly a pride flag at City Hall after an initial flag ban was passed last year. The new bill also introduces a $2,000 a day per flag fine for violations, and it bans displays on state-owned property anywhere. For example, pride flags on Boise's Harrison Boulevard. Carve-outs were added to the law to allow the Basque autonomous flag during Hialdi, and the Senate added its own amendment to allow continued display of the Canadian flag, as many North Idaho towns do in recognition of their international neighbors. That amendment will require approval back in the House before the bill could go to the governor for his final consideration. Also at the State House, Idaho's digital learning platform for public schools could soon get half of its budget cut under a bill passed in the House yesterday. Here's James Dawson with that story.
The Idaho Digital Learning Academy offers remedial, elective, and advanced online classes to public school students. The proposal would cut IDLA's budget by $13.4 million and no longer allow students below 6th grade to participate. Lawmakers want to make the cuts after learning some districts received extra state funding for kids taking online classes. Democratic Representative Monica Church, who's a public school teacher, warned fellow lawmakers the reductions will outrage parents.
Cutting it by 50% is going to impact your constituents. It's going to impact your families, and you're going to hear about it, period.
Representative Sonia Galaviz is also a Democrat and a public school teacher, but she supports the bill. She says the cuts will keep the most needed courses available.
Folks will be able to access the courses, vital courses, essential courses, courses that are required for graduation, the same as before.
State senators will consider the issue next. James Dawson, Boise State Public Radio News.
After slamming the idea early in the legislative session as a, quote, gimmick proposed by Governor Brad Little to balance the state budget, Republican Representative and Joint Finance Appropriations Co-Chair Josh Tanner yesterday presided over a hearing which saw 14 cash and interest transfers approved for the current and upcoming fiscal years, half of which were previously proposed by the governor. The moves total about $132 million for the current year from the state's Permanent Building Fund, Broadband Fund, School District Building Account, and other similar funds. Plans to use interest earnings from several other accounts, including the state's Budget Stabilization Fund, were part of $95 million for next year's budget. Republican Representative James Petsky says they're unnecessary because the transfers would only support leaving a $150 million balance at the end of next fiscal year.
I don't understand why we would do that, given that we have total discretion to do whatever we need to do to balance the budget at the end of next year anyway when we come back in March.
JFAC lawmakers yesterday also approved chopping their own legislative budget to match the sweeping cuts made to other state agencies of 4% this year and 5% next year. All those cuts now go to the rest of the legislature for approval. As airport security workers continue to have to work without pay due to a partial government shutdown, donation bins for food and other day-to-day supplies are being added to our region's smaller airports. Bins have been in place for weeks at the Boise Airport. Now, Friedman Memorial Airport in Haley and the Magic Valley Regional Airport in Twin Falls are asking people to support TSA workers with donated non-perishable food and other supplies. There are 17 TSA workers at the Twin Falls Airport, according to the Times News. An airport spokesperson says there are about 20 TSA employees at Friedman Memorial. TSA workers across the country have now been working more than 40 days without being paid, while federal lawmakers fight over funding for the Department of Homeland Security, which includes the TSA. A fire this month at a church and preschool in Post Falls, initially deemed suspicious, has been ruled accidental. The state fire marshal's office says an investigation, which also included federal authorities, showed 3 ignition areas, but no evidence of accelerant. Instead, a natural gas regulator for the building was found to have failed, causing excess pressure and leaks at 3 gas appliances in the church, which ignited, causing the fire that destroyed Valley Church on March 15th. Also in North Idaho, a chain reaction explosion 18 months ago at a gas station on Highway 11 about 70 miles east of Lewiston has now been ruled accidental. The Spokesman Review newspaper, though, reports a state fire marshal's investigation found numerous code violations at the site and determined that, quote, gross negligence, unquote, may have contributed to the incident. 2 people died, 2 others were airlifted to Seattle with severe burns after gasoline vapors entered a convenience store and ignited from an oil-burning furnace, which was operating without a face cover. State Fire Marshal Knut Sandoval told the Spokesman Review the investigation was the most exhausting he'd experienced in 20 years. If you're anywhere in the vicinity of downtown Boise on Wednesday, you noticed there's a different vibe in the city. It's the first day of Treefort. There are more people, a little more traffic too, as the 5-day music festival kicks off at Julia Davis Park. The Trump administration's aggressive anti-immigration policies, though, have discouraged some musicians from coming to Treefort this year. Julie Luqueta has that story.
Each year, the music festival in downtown Boise attracts a lot of international talent. Treefort director Eric Gilbert says this time around, 2 artists were denied visas. Others have stayed away voluntarily.
What we're seeing is a lot of new visas are harder to get, right? And so there's still international artists touring in the country and playing our festival. But if that prolongs for many more years, those numbers could go down.
Visas issued for established bands can last from 1 to 3 years and sometimes more. Gilbert says it was easier this year to book artists who already had paperwork.
I know of a few that have said it blatantly to me that we're just going to focus in other areas until you Americans figure your stuff out.
The festival works with a lot of emerging artists, and in recent years, it's focused on building relationships with Latin American bands. In 2025, 8 groups from Latin America performed at Treefort. This year, only 1 will attend. Julie Luqueta, Boise State Public Radio News.
The 14th annual Treefort Music Festival runs in Boise through Sunday. Last year, the event had a nearly $16 million economic impact. That's according to data from the Idaho Policy Institute at Boise State University. It's part of a broader creative economy that allows local artists and creators space to grow their talent here at home. Duck Club, the group behind Treefort, says it's been working to educate people on the importance of having a sustainable arts and music scene. Here's what Duck Club Director of Outreach Nathan Walker told Idaho Matters earlier this week.
We try to get people to understand that this is worth investing in as a sector in a very real way. Like, for instance, in Oregon, they've done their research that has determined that music specifically has more economic impact in the state than even professional sports.
Walker says the Idaho Policy Institute has improved the tracking of Treefort's economic impact over the last 2 years, capturing data beyond just tourism-related spending. The full interview on what's being done to propel Idaho's creative economy forward is at our website, boisestatepublicradio.org. Click Idaho Matters and find that story in our previous episodes. And if you're a late night or very early morning driver, don't forget westbound Interstate 84 between Ada and Canyon counties closed again tonight, Monday night, and Tuesday night as crews continue to work on the new Highway 16 interchange. Westbound traffic will be detoured onto Franklin Road between 10 Mile and Garrity between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. And that's today's episode of The Connector. I'm Troy Oppie. Catch you back here again tomorrow morning. Make it a great day.